The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
A lady wrote a letter. A lady wrote a letter to her grandfather who lives in East Flatbush. And she wrote him, Zayda, I want to tell you a story that just happened with me here in Eretz Yisrael in Ramat Gan. And she tells him the story. She tells him that she had a certain job, and she was in the middle of the job, and she became pregnant, and she knew that she would have to take off a month for maternity leave. And she was very worried, that when she goes on maternity leave, then what's going to happen? The boss will give away the job because there are many, many people who are looking for jobs in Eretz Yisrael, and he just can't hold the job after a month. And she was so worried about it. So what happened was she was afraid to talk to the boss, and one day it was raining, and everybody was eating lunch inside, and they all were talking, and it was like a very informal gathering. And finally she blurted out to the boss. She said to him, listen, you know I'm expecting, and I'm so worried. Are you going to hold on to the job for me? My husband is out of work. My brother is living with me from America. And I'm just so worried. Could you please promise me that you're going to hold the job? So the boss was like so taken aback. He didn't even expect that she should ask in front of everybody. So how is he now? Well, what was he going to say? That he tried to veer away the conversation. And he said, you're from America. Where are you from? She said, from Flatbush. Oh, what's your name? What's your maiden name? And she said her maiden name. Then he started, where do you come from? East Flatbush. Who's your father? Who's your mother? Who's your grandfather? Back and forth. And she said that she felt so, like she was so politely, started asking so many questions. And finally, he walked out of the room. And when he came back a few minutes later, it looked like he had been crying. And he said to the girl, right, I could use that, thank you. He said to the girl, I want to tell you something. He said many years ago in Flatbush, there were two electricians. One was a very wealthy man. He belonged to the union. The other one was not a wealthy man at all, thank you. He was not a wealthy man at all, and he was not a wealthy man at all, and he ran from place to place trying to get jobs. So these two fellows, they gathered in the same school. They weren't that friendly, but they used to walk home because they used to talk shop, whatever. And then one day, Never, the poor electrician, the one who didn't belong to the union, he had a heart attack, and a few days later he died. And the man, the wealthy electrician, he came to be Menachem Lovo, and he saw a house filled with children, and he saw the poverty in the house. And those of you who have had the misfortune of sitting shiva, or those of you who have gone to be Menachem Lovo, know that in a house where you've go to be Menachem Lovo, it's always such a tumult. There's no way that the Avelim can know everything that's going on in the house, because there's so many people in all the different rooms and everything. So this fellow walked into the kitchen, and he opened up the refrigerator, and he saw there was very little food there. So that afternoon he went and he bought a tremendous amount of food, and he put it into the kitchen, into the cabinets, into the refrigerator. And the next day he came to Menachem Lovo again. And the lady, she said to me, are you the one who filled up the refrigerator with the food? He said, no, don't worry, it's nothing, it's no problem. And he went back to the refrigerator later, and he could have some of the food that was used, and every day from the shiva, he filled it up with food. And after the shiva, he didn't have much access with the family. 2 or 3 weeks later, the almana called him up, and she said, listen, you know, I was going through my husband's stuff in the basement. He had so many electrical supplies, drill bits and screwdrivers and hammers and wires and sockets. I don't need any of that. You know, it's bad memory to me. Do me a favor. Come, take it all. I'll sell it to you for $100. He said, okay, fine. He came for 3 weeks in a row, every night. Every night, he made like an inventory. He'd set up the screwdrivers here, the hammers here, the socket, the wires, the drill bits, everything. And then on one Sunday morning, he announced in shul that there's going to be a sale for electricians, all carpenters in the area, anybody who might need anything. And all the money is going to go to the almana. And that afternoon, many, many people came, and they raised more than $3,000, and they gave it to the almana. And this fellow was telling the story, and he said, I want you to know that your grandfather was the one who made the sale, and it was my father who passed away. And he said, I want you to know you will always have a job in my place. And tomorrow, if your brother and your father come to my place, they will always have a job. That's what Stucca is all about. Stucca is not only a close van who lives the God, but Stucca is the Gresset, Chesed, and Rachamim for us.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org